In the past 3 years, I've been able to study over 5,000 different personal brands to know the difference between what makes a $0 versus $1 million personal brand. And some of the things I'm about to go over might shock you. So let's get straight into it. Now, before we cover the difference between a $0 versus $1 million personal brand, I want to ask you a question. Which of the following two brands would you say makes more money? On the screen here, you see two different brands, brand number one and brand number two. Brand number one has over 1 million followers, and brand number two has over 64,000 followers. And at first glance, you might be thinking brand number one, obviously, just because it has a lot more followers. And to give you even more context, brand number one averages about a couple 100,000 views to over 1 million each video, and brand number two gets about 1,000 to over 5,000 views per video, which is a significant difference. However, even though brand number one averages more viewers and has more followers, brand number two still makes more money. And as you can see on the screen right here, I'm not lying to you. This is brand number one's income in the first year of when I first started making content. And brand number two right here, you can see I made over $1 million in a single year just because I implemented this 3-step system that I used on my $1 million personal brand with less followers and less viewers to make more money. So let's break it down. Now, when it comes to building a personal brand that's worth $0, there's quite a few mistakes that literally break the success of your personal brand long term. And I can tell you right now, if you do not take this advice, you will end up becoming what we call a broke influencer, or one of those people that has so much engagement, so many followers, but $0 in the bank. And I can promise you right now, it's not that you need like a better personality or you need to have like better value even. What you really need to understand are these 3 mistakes. And it's that a brand with $0 often has no specific direction or niche, no community, and last but not least, no offer to sell. But now, what do these exactly mean? Because these are kind of vague at the end of the day. Well, let's first dive into what no specific direction or niche means. Now, when I say no specific direction or niche, oftentimes people, creators, business owners that create this type of brand simply only focus on these 3 things you can see here. And it's usually they only focus on virality, they have inconsistent messaging, and because of these 2 things, they have an inauthentic audience. An inauthentic audience basically means that your audience doesn't really care about you because you're not putting the time and effort to get to know them more. You're not putting the time and effort to actually spread value or give them more value. You're just making content for fuck's sakes to go viral and get a bunch of clicks and views that don't make you any money. And I know this because I have worked with so many creators and business owners that had the following, that had the engagement, yet they still couldn't even pay for their own rent because they were making $10,000 a year. And so now let me give you an example of what a $0 personal brand looks like. This is example number 1. This guy, King T Bowie, Tommy Bowie, he's actually one of my friends. I asked him permission to show you guys in this video and he said it's fine. But pretty much, as you can see here, he has 700,000 followers, which is a lot of followers. And you know, seems like he's a pretty successful guy from the picture itself, right? But you'd be surprised that this account barely makes him any money. And even worse, sometimes $0 or negative income each month. And a bit more context here, Tommy gets a lot of views. As you can see, this one has 60 million, this one has 12,000, right? Some have 700,000, 3 million. The numbers are obviously going to vary each brand, but with something like this, with this much engagement and viewers in the right audience or niche, this could make you a lot of money. But because Tommy has no specific direction, he posts randomly whenever he wants, and there is a very vague or vast type of content here where you don't really know what kind of niche he's in, his audience becomes confused because of the inconsistent messaging that he's putting out there for his viewers. Hence why he's making less than a couple $1,000s a month with 700,000 followers. Now, let's now take a look at this example right here, Jason Nash. You might have seen him in David Dobrik's videos before. He's a very known actor, he's a very known influencer, but someone like him, even with 2 million followers, also is broke and has no money. And in fact, there was even a viral video of him begging for donations on a TikTok live stream just because his following couldn't pay for his lifestyle and his overall well-being. Jason's views right here, you can see, are pretty good. 160,000 views, 1 million views on this video almost, right? Some of them get 50,000. Overall, just like with Tommy though, he should be making a lot of money from his account with that following. But in his case, because his content is so random and it's just about anything, his audience is confused, and because his audience is confused, they're not gonna wanna stay loyal to him. They're not gonna want to actually invest into what he's saying or doing, which is what causes 0 sales in your personal brand. It causes 0 sales in your business. Everything sales related becomes dead. So to recap, when you first start building your personal brand, you definitely wanna write down what exactly you're gonna make your content about, stick within that niche, have a specific direction, which we're gonna get into in a second. And from there, you can build off of it until you get really big
then you can start doing whatever you want because you have now become your own self as a creator. All right, point number 2, no community. No community comes from the inconsistent messaging. It comes from you not putting the time and effort into actually talking to your viewers. Because as simple as it sounds, you quite literally need to talk to your viewers and see what they're doing, see what they want from you. Because if you fulfill what they want more, if you actually take the time to talk to them, maybe in a Discord community, WhatsApp group chat, I don't know, your followers, your viewers, the more they get to know you, the more open they'll be to you and the more loyal they'll ultimately become to you. That's how you build that cult-like following you might have heard on the internet a lot of times. One of the biggest mistakes, if not the biggest mistake I made when I built my brand to 3 million followers collectively, is that I didn't nurture my community the right way. And the reason why is because I was posting the most random videos about street interviews, although they were getting, you can see here, 40 million views sometimes. 10 million views. These videos weren't translating to real people invested into who I was as a person. And because I didn't have that community, I would have to solely rely off of each concept to go viral rather than just my personality and me talking to the camera. And so to help you understand this in the simplest way possible, the more scattered you make your content, the more random you make it, the less you talk to your viewers, the less you listen to them. Your audience starts to not know who you are, and over time, that leads to unfollows, that leads to less engagement, and that leads to less sales. Which is why sticking with the niche first always builds a stronger community. I wanted to play a game here, all right? I want to show you guys 2 profiles that you might have seen before, iShowSpeed and Alex Hormozi. Based off of these 2 names in these profiles, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it entertainment? Is it business? Well, for me personally, I see iShowSpeed as entertainment, right? And I see Alex Hormozi as business. And if you think about it, the greatest creators, the best business owners with content, always started within a niche. Even Gary Vee, when he started talking about wine more often than ever before. But my biggest pro tip here is fit within the niche first, then become the niche once you've built that cult-like community. And I promise you right now, that is only gonna come through time. And finally, moving on to point number 3 for a $0 personal brand, no offer. And that simply just means that you have no product to sell. You have no back-end business. You have nothing that your viewers actually want to buy from you because you don't have anything. And I'm not saying you necessarily need to have something with your personal brand. Some people do make it out of a brand deal, sponsorships, whatever it is. But in the long run, every single big creator that is a multimillionaire or even a billionaire has some sort of business or some sort of offer to give. And it's only gonna come when you have a community. It's only gonna come through a period of time. So make sure that you're not the business owner or creator that just only relies off brand deals and sponsors, only relies off getting paid off views, because I promise you right now, you will be broke. You will not make money fast and long term. It is going to be extremely difficult for you. And I know this because I was once the broke influencer myself. I was the one that was relying only on brand deal sponsors, paid off views, and it just didn't work. I made a lot less money than I was supposed to be making with the following and engagement I had before. All right, so now that you understand what a $0 personal brand looks like, let's now cover more into what a $1 million brand looks like, which is the complete opposite. So $1 million personal brand, this is my business account that I was running my offer on, getting more clients from here. And the reason why brand number 2, which is the $1 million personal brand, makes $1 million is because there's a specific direction and niche, there's a cult-like community, and there's a targeted offer that I am actually selling. So let's start with the first one, specific direction and niche. I'm gonna use Alex Hormozi as an example for this because I just absolutely love his brand. I think whoever's doing his work is extremely knowledgeable in this space. But when you look at Alex Hormozi, you don't just look at him and think, oh, he's just Alex Hormozi. You think of him as the business guy, the guru, the guy that literally knows inside and out of the business industry. And so if you look at his Instagram, you'll see a number of videos on his page that are just about business content alone, like you see here, him helping his students, him helping his clients, him answering questions specifically within an industry or whatever it is. But instead of just business content, which is cool and all, he also includes these 2 other pieces of content or pillars that actually help build his community more, and I'm gonna show you what that is. Alex Hormozi also makes content about motivation, inspiration, things to make you feel more successful, things that are gonna hype you up for the day, which, if you notice, motivational content is very good for forming a cult-like following, especially if you're saying the right things. And the last pillar is just really his lifestyle and his overall relationship with his wife, Layla. And relationship content, lifestyle content about your work, whatever it is, always is going to tie in with what your main content is. And in this case, that's business for Alex Hormozi. And so with all these 3 pillars combined, his business content, his motivational content, his lifestyle and relationship content, That is what makes Alex Hormozi. And that is exactly why people trust him more. I've gone on so many sales calls with so many people, and I ask them every time they work with me, why they worked with me. And you'd be surprised. The reason why they work with me isn't just because of my value. It's because they saw my other videos about Christianity. They saw my other videos about being in the gym, and they liked that about me. And they bought into me, not the product. That is what people buy off of. They buy off of who they trust, who they like, and who they want to learn from. And so if you didn't know yet, obviously, because of all this, Alex Hormozi was able to build a cult-like community, which is point number 2. And by having a cult-like community, this is the results that you're gonna get. You're gonna get your videos, as you can see on the screen right here, millions of views, a couple 100,000 views or more on each of your videos from the dumbest things that you might talk about, from just a promo about your book you're selling, about some sort of business you're selling, whatever it is. You're gonna get these types of views if you have a specific direction for your content at first to build that cult-like community. And I promise you, literally anything you make will go viral. I mean, look at this video right here. It says, if I wanted to be the first million in my family. First off, if Alex Hormozi didn't have a cult-like community, everybody would ask, why should I listen to this guy, right? He just looks like a normal guy with a beard. What's so different about him? But because he took the time to build a cult-like community, that is why he gets these types of views you're seeing on the screen. And he is a prime example of what we call a personality creator. Somebody who gets views on autopilot just because of the community they've built through years and years and years. And so to recap, you want to create content pillars that show who you are and what you do, not just one thing alone. And finally, moving on to our last and final point of what makes a $1 million personal brand. Targeted offers. Targeted offer meaning your offer is specifically targeting a demographic or audience that follows you for who you are and what you do. I'll give you an example. If you're a basketball coach and you're selling a product or offer that is about beauty, you're gonna get 0 sales obviously because you're not targeting the right demographic, you're not selling to the right group. Mr. Beast sells Feastables chocolate bars because a bunch of his audience are kids, and kids can easily afford a $1, $2 chocolate bar. Same with Logan Paul. Anybody can buy a cheap drink. A lot of these big entertainment creators you see make new chip brands, they make new candy brands, whatever it is, because they know who their audience is, they know who their demographic is. You need to know who your demographic is in order to sell your product, because you could have millions of followers, you could have the best product in the world. If your product is something that your audience doesn't need, they're not gonna buy from you no matter how good it is. Even for my own content, I'm targeting business owners that wanna scale, build, and monetize their personal brand. Not necessarily just creators that want to go viral and just blow up in the mood and go crazy. Hence why I'm making breakdown videos like this. On my screen, you can see how I put specifically my website here, right? DM me VCM to book a meeting with me to learn how to build your personal brand. Specifically targeting, I help creators/coaches monetize on IG. These are all specific things that I am saying to put my offer out there towards the right audience and the right demographic, not just a random group of people. So in conclusion, having a targeted offer, a cult-like community, and a specific direction with your content is the main and 3 differences between a $1 million personal brand versus a $0 brand. And I get it, some of you still might be confused, or even better, you might want my personal help to build you that $1 million personal brand, just like how we've done for dozens and dozens and dozens of business owners and our clients in the past. And if you want that type of help, check out the description down below where you can book a free strategy call with my team and I. But until then, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do what you gotta do to blow this thing up, and I will see you guys in the next episode where we'll be covering something even better. God bless.